You know, it's actually kind of like a binary choice, right? Either you let those choices and those circumstances weigh you down, or you choose to carry your burdens. It's like 100% up to you. So, I don't know what it is for you, but I know what the obvious choice is. Be carrying them all the time. Hey, good morning. Thanks for joining me. Morning walk, episode 64. Although, I gotta come clean with you. This is the first time in any episode that we've been walking together that I've actually lied to you in the first 10 seconds. Because it ain't morning at all. It's actually 5:30 in the afternoon. But you might forgive me because it's been a 36-hour odyssey from Sydney, Australia to here in Poitiers in central France. And this place is just absolutely mind-boggling and beautiful, so I'm so glad we get to walk around and have a look together. From classic cathedral through to beautiful architecture that we've got everywhere, cafes, classic France. And then in the middle of it all, sticking out like ugly dog's balls, a churros van. Welcome to France. Let's go have a look around. Come out for a bit of a afternoon run just because jet lag's hitting pretty hard. We left yesterday afternoon about 3 p.m. from Sydney. Finally got into our Airbnb here in Poitiers at 3 p.m. this afternoon, which by the time you count in time difference is a kind of ugly trip. And there's nothing like getting out and getting a little bit of sunshine to get through some of the jet lag. A little bit of exercise doesn't hurt either. It's just awesome. So lucky to come to little places like this. If you have a look around, it's all just classic streets, narrow laneways, amazing architecture. France just sends you crazy. It's got just awesome food in the windows that just makes you want to stop and try the ice cream and the lollies and pretty much everything you can imagine. It's just like being transported into a completely different world to what we're used to seeing in Australia. So definitely a massive privilege to be able to come here and get to experience it a bit. Pretty hot here at the moment. It's been having one of the worst heat waves the country's ever experienced. Fortunately today it's not too bad. If you ever get a chance to come to Europe and look around, God, it's so awesome because everywhere you go you've got cities like Poitiers, which are, there's only about 100,000 people or so it's not a huge kind of city. But it's just so blessed with the most amazing landscapes and history. Now this place dates back to the Romans and beyond. So you've got a lot of this kind of classic old architecture. They had aqueducts and a big sort of Colosseum here as well, baths, a whole lot. A lot of that stuff of course is gone now. But still, this is definitely not on the radar of most people, and yet it's such an amazing place to come and visit. Just look at this. I don't know, the French just have a way of making everything look beautiful. And this is kind of a nice thing too, this kind of size of town. If you go to the big touristy places all over the world, I don't know, you come down a main shopping strip like this and it's all just big brand names and all pretty generic and vanilla. You come to a place like Poitiers and a lot of these places are just little stores, little brands. It just gives you such a more unique experience. Oh, this is pretty awesome. Check this out. So, yeah, we don't really have anything quite like that in Australia, do we? Sorry, Fed Square in Melbourne, just not quite up to the mark, is it? It's just like the town hall in one of the smaller cities in France. There's something to be said for that kind of long European history. Now, of course, Australia has got the longest continuous civilization in the world through Aboriginal history, and that's certainly no less remarkable than a place like this. This is very different though. It just makes you really admire the ingenuity of what humans are capable of doing over such a long time frame. And again, if you think about Australian Aboriginal history, you know, that's a civilization that existed for 40,000 years at least. Some researchers think it could have gone back as long as 90,000 years. And yet they managed to tread lightly on the earth and preserve the environment just exquisitely. And actually lead quite a sophisticated civilization as well. There's really good evidence these days that Australian Aboriginals were farming crops and had quite developed, you know, quite sophisticated infrastructure in terms of managing their water and food and what have you. This is very different. Awesome vibe. I guess one of the things is when you live in a place like this, you know, you kind of become a little bit familiar with it or jaded, and you just kind of filter stuff out, which is also very human. You know, we have these amazingly evolved brains which fundamentally are designed to find shortcuts, and part of finding shortcuts is filtering out everything that's like super familiar so that we can spot differences in the environment. It kind of makes sense to some extent, you know, if you think you were like hiding in the bush and suddenly a saber-toothed tiger came out at you. You kind of need to be able to spot that tiger hiding behind the tree rather than just like keeping an eye on trees that had nothing there. So it's very natural for us to filter out the surroundings that are regular to us. And that's the magical thing about travel, isn't it? You come to a place like this and boom, like I appreciate this for all of its splendor and beauty, as you probably do too now. So thanks for joining me again. But the locals, shrug, rather be playing basketball, which is fair enough. So always appreciate what you've got. You've always got to look at things with beginner's eyes. You know? Like you're looking at something for the first time. Don't forget to do that. Let's get a move on. Alright, so I got a little bit of a travel story for you. Something I thought about when we were going through the many airports that we went through on our way to get here. You know, we were in Singapore transiting and I saw this big bloke with what for him should have been some fairly light suitcases to carry, but he was like really labouring with them. You know, like was just like, struggle straight, like too heavy for me. I'm like, come on man, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can totally carry those bags. But it made me think, you know, how often do we not actually really carry the items that we're holding with all of our force? So if you think about when you're at the supermarket and you're carrying your bags of groceries, we kind of let those bags sort of drag us down and it's heavy. But actually when you like use all of your core strength and you stand up tall and you actually carry those bags with all of your strength, like it's not so bad. And that got me to thinking, which was, isn't that so true in our emotional lives as well? How often is it that we have something difficult that we've got to carry, and rather than like carrying it with our strength and being upright and holding it with our force, we actually let it drag us down. And that's all a choice, isn't it? You know, everybody has got shitty things in their lives, bad situations, or, you know, things in their personality they're not happy with and they want to work on and try and change, or people around them that are, you know, hard to work with, whatever. You know, all of these things that inform our environment and make it hard for us to operate. And yet, so many of us, I think without actually really consciously thinking about it, actually let those things weigh us down instead of us consciously deciding to carry our burdens. And that's just like a world apart, isn't it? They're like polar opposites. You can't fake that in any way. So I think that's my thought for today. It's been percolating in my head. My jet-lagged brain after flying God knows how many hours is like, make sure whatever your burdens are, that you actually carry them. You don't let them weigh you down. And like, I'm sorry to you for them. You know, I'm really sorry that you've got to carry those burdens. But you're not alone. It's the same for all of us. So carry those burdens. Don't let them weigh you down. Stand up straight, tall, own them, move on. Anyway, it's a beautiful afternoon here. I'm going to finish off my run. I'm Rob Malicki. Thanks for joining me on the morning walk in Poitiers, France. See you next time. Have a good one.